here from pickinglessons.com. Miss McLeod's Reel. This is a fantastic tune. Traditional Scottish in the key of G. We've got two parts. It's very accessible, this one. The phrases aren't that difficult. To get it up to tempo, now it's not a super fast reel. If you do a little bit of listening research, you'll find that this one hasn't been typically recorded very quick, so it's a bit more accessible for the intermediate picker, but in terms of getting started with the melody, it's a good one for the advanced beginner. In a moment, we're going to take a look at the melodic G major scale, because all these phrases certainly center around that particular scale, and we'll also have a quick look through part A as well. Now if you head over to pickinglessons.com, you can grab yourself a copy of the tablature that has the scale and the tune in there. We'll also break down part B of the lesson in the member section there, and you'll have a play along and backing track once you do get to know the tune as well. Now we are in the key of G, and we are really centering around this melodic G scale. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that you've got those notes covered, because that's really going to help with this tune. It really does just sit there. So this particular scale, it's played in a melodic fashion, meaning that essentially that we're up the neck here, but we're playing, for a start, this open G string, and then we're moving to a lower string to play the A. And this is really the melodic technique here. This is what's going on. So we've got the open G to the A, open B, and the C is on string 3. Then the open D, and the E's on string 2. So we're basically moving through these scale notes in not a sort of linear fashion. We play that open string on string 3, but then we have to move back to the next note, which is a higher pitch. So a little bit unorthodox perhaps. Open B and C, open D and E, F sharp now, first finger, and open G. So the movement, it makes sense once you get to know it, and the really important thing for the right hand is that the thumb plays the lower string, finger plays a higher string. So index, thumb, middle, thumb, middle, thumb. I'd really encourage you to learn that scale first if you don't already know it. It's a good one to warm up on. It's a great little scale, and it really does sit within this melody. Really, really important. So work through that scale if you're not familiar, but it is a good one to practice anyway. Now the first phrase in part A, we're up here straight away. We're borrowing the G note on fret 5 there of string 1. We're not always going to play it as the open string, just for convenience. So let's have a look at this first opening little phrase. The phrases are quite repetitive, so once we learn a couple, they do get to repeat as well. So this first phrase, 1, 2, first finger, thumb drop down, thumb, middle, to the second finger coming in there on the G. Makes it easier to play rather than going back to the G here because of what's coming next. One more time, measure 1, ready, and 1, 2, thumb again, and 4, and. We'll come back through these as we go. Let's have a look at the next measure. Now that's just this little back and forth between that melodic scale we've just learnt. So the open B again to the A, open B to the C, open B to the A. So B, A, B, C, B, just back and forth through the scale. So second string, index finger, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb. One more time, ready, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. We'll keep moving through because the next measure, measure 3, is the same as the beginning. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So that doubles up. Let's learn measure 4, then we'll put them together as a package. So measure 4, we go down to the A here. Third finger on the A, 7th fret. Thumb's going to play that note, and we have 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So the open G, open B as part of that melody. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Let's put together these 4 bars from the top. 3, 4, and 1. Work on little things like the connection of the measures, end of measure 3 into measure 4, getting that third finger onto the A, measure 1 into measure 2, using that index finger to kick off that open B, Thumb would kind of be okay there, but use the index because it sets up for what's happening next. So all the fingering for the left hand and the right hand is in the tablature, so do check that out, make sure you're okay with that. So work through what we've got now. Second half though, second half is very similar to begin with. But here, the tail end, before we hit the repeat, thumb's going to drop down. We've got this whole passage on the top two strings. We've got the open B and the D. So thumb, open B, and then middle finger on the D. Then second finger is going to hit this E, 5th fret, and first finger is going to get the F sharp when we need it. So in measure 7, 1 and 2 and first 4 notes. Open D first, 1 and 2 and thumb, middle, second half, 3, 4 and, so that first finger can actually stay. So third measure, ready, and then in measure 8, we're going to hold this position still. Thumb moves to the open G, and we're going to run down through the scale, stopping on the B there. 1 and 2 and 3. Fingering at this point here, index to the B this time, so our thumb can play the A. So the B initially was the thumb, then the index to play the final 2 notes. Let's pop together the last 2 bars there. Ready, and before we then go off and play this section twice. So working firstly on the individual measures, that's really important, but then piecing them together is also important, so you're used to the transitions of where we're moving, whether it's the third finger down here or fingering changing in the right hand on the same note, on the same string, for example. But it is very accessible, and if you really know the melodic scale, it does really make sense. The fingering makes sense, and the movement is really clear. Let's just run through this A section once, remembering you do have to repeat it. We're going to play it once right here, and then you can go off and practice. From the top, 3 and 4 and. Measure 3. Measure 5. Measure 7. And going around again for another time there. So there's part A. It's a great little tune, very accessible. So practice it slowly and do get to know it. Don't worry about tempo, but it is not an overly fast tune for a reel. Reels tend to be quite quick, but this one's on the slower side for a reel at the end of the day. PickandLessons.com, you can grab the tablature, but the member section there, we are going to continue this lesson. Look at what's happening in part B, and you'll have those play along and backing tracks there as well. So PickandLessons.com, I'll see you there.